Hello, and welcome to Top Posts from r/AskReddit. Reddit Readings, Episode 4. Teachers of Reddit, what are some positive trends you have noticed in today's youth? Nerd/geek culture is more accepted. Students are not afraid to just be nice to each other. I teach elementary art and it is so nice when a kid who is pretty unskilled in art show another kid their work. And instead of getting laughed at, like when I was in school, kids are just so sweet and will say things like, "Wow, I really love that." I hear kids telling other kids, "I think your work is beautiful," or, "I really like your ideas," and I just think of when I was in art. Kids made fun of my work. In general, I really don't see kids being bullies as much as they were when I was a kid. I went to school in a really nice district too with few problems, but I was bullied. Kids here have a much worse home life than kids at my old school, and while they could choose to take it out on others, they don't. Kids help each other too. They know if a student is special and will try to help that student out. They'll offer to walk them to the bathroom, or help them with their drawing, or very politely tell them to be careful with things. University teacher here. My students put in way more effort than I did at their age. Granted, the system has pushed them in that direction as well, but they typically have a better idea of where they want their career to go and are willing to put in the effort to obtain that goal. My girlfriend is a teacher and she is amazed at how uncool drinking and driving is. Kids are like, "That's stupid, you will kill someone." They literally make fun of kids who do it. In my day everyone drove drunk. Very positive change. They seem generally kinder to each other, especially to the kids who are different. When I was in school, the kids who didn't speak English as their first language, or were a little quirky or had disabilities were either avoided or viciously bullied. Today that seems to be the exception rather than the norm. Not a teacher but work the 2 to 10 shift at the local gas station across from the junior high and high school. Kids these days are a lot nicer, more likely to donate to our fundraisers, and they have zero problem for paying for each other's stuff when someone's short. I worried about my son, who has mild autism, for the first 10 years of his life. I kept telling him that middle school would be hard, kids would tease him, etc., and that high school would be even harder in the same respect. 15 years ago, I would have been right. Fast forward to now, and I'm constantly amazed and grateful for how well he is treated. Even the jock kids and big snotty idiot kids who would make perfect bullies are inclusive, kind, and even sometimes protective of my son. I've told all of them how appreciative I am, and even got a few of them Christmas presents this year. Love those kids. This was actually a huge thing when I was in high school several years back. There was one particular kid in our school who had autism, but was actually one of the smarter students, especially history for whatever reason, and everyone was super cool to him. Jocks let him participate in their sports, even going easy on him just to see him be happy. They even lined it up so he could play during a football game. Not an actual game, but 2 schools in town participated and it was a full-length game, just not part of the season or whatever. Popular girls would talk with him, even giving him their numbers to talk with him outside of class. One even took him to prom every year. Nerdy kids would play video games with him and between classes and after school. People would always have a seat for him in the lunchroom, wherever he wanted to sit, even to the point of like arguing, "No, come sit with us," and stuff. He was invited to participate in pretty much any school club he wanted, and overall was just super welcomed by everyone. If anyone even had the balls to try to make fun of him, you were pretty much blacklisted by the students. It was super uncool to be even mildly rude to him. In many ways, he had a better high school experience than I did, and honestly I wouldn't have it any other way. I was super happy to see him flourish the way he did. High school teacher here. The most admirable quality of the rising generation is their ability to take anything, and I mean anything, and turn it into a meme. My daycare kids are much more likely to wash their hands than my generation was when we were their age. LOL. Kids are so much neater now. Once they are about 8 or 9, they pick up after themselves, are sort of organized, and don't litter when they can help it. I've even had kids at work that couldn't reach the trash can, so they'll come up to the counter and hand me their trash. I'm not a teacher, but my girlfriend's mom is a teacher, and it sparked a dialogue. With the dawn of meme culture, kids are getting competitive with comedy at an early age. When I was a kid, I had undiagnosed mental health issues, so I was bullied a lot, and the only thing that kept me alive was developing my sense of humor. Sad as it is, young people have a pecking order and cliques, but a few things can transcend those boundaries, and one of those is humor. Coincidentally, I was into internet humor, meme culture, and PC games way before my peers were. Wanna hear something crazy? I was bullied for that, specifically and mercilessly. If you ran a meme page and had a nice gaming PC at 10 today, you would be a god. It's honestly made a lot of kids that don't fit and have at least something in common with their peers. All you have to do is yell, Fortnite, or whatever meme is going around that week, and boom, you have a friend. I had one time where I was able to make friends like that, and that was when Pokemon came out. Similar concept. You might think that kind of stuff is cringe or annoying or stupid, but if it can prevent someone from wanting to kill themselves at 12 like I was, I'll allow it. Of course I don't need to have it anywhere near me, but that's a different matter. They are generally independent and self-reflective. When I first started teaching, I thought I had simply lucked out getting students who were consistently bright, engaged and curious, but having now taught at 3 different universities on 2 different continents, it seems to be a general trend across universities. They are also, as noted elsewhere, generally kind and empathetic, and both my male and female students are usually pretty emotionally mature. With high schoolers, I really noticed how better their style is. Super random, but compared to how lazy I dressed in high school, it's impressive. High schoolers try really hard to look good for school. Then you get to university and realize that no one cares, because people would literally just go to class in their pajamas or just put on a hoodie and call it a day. I asked my wife, primary teacher, and she says empathy and adaptability are the 2 traits she has seen dramatically improve over her last 15 years. Kids seem to be better at putting themselves in another's position and understanding their situation. Also, they seem to be much more flexible with changes, whether in the classroom or the outside world. Spouse to a high school teacher, she had to say, they were born into the internet and social media. It is not something they had to learn. Also, as a result of which, they are also more self-reliant with research. And most importantly, contrary to the largest complaints, today's kids are extremely hardworking, and are less judgy of nerds, less judgmental in general. Kids are openly kind and loving regarding their parents. I had a tough football player say in class once, I love my mom, she's my best friend. I see the old, my parents suck mentality falling by the wayside recently. Not a teacher, but a former after-school care counselor. Even though it may have just been the school's rules conditioning, the kids were generally so good at apologizing, owning up to their actions, and being accepting of others' apologies, after whatever situation transpired has calmed down. Of course, they always knew to kindly and carefully approach whoever they hurt, make eye contact, and word their apologies in such a way that effectively communicated their apology for the correct reasons. And those being apologized to always knew to say I accept your apology as opposed to it's okay. Kids in my day couldn't figure those kind of communication skills out until at least middle school or high school. The only time I would get a sarcastic sorry accompanied with an eye roll and running away would be from a kindergartner, or an older child facing other difficulties. The 8-year-olds I teach really make a huge deal about plastic. We watched the Blue Planet 2 episode with them, and since then they have been so mindful and really want to protect the oceans. The high school students I work with today seem significantly more emotionally intelligent than those of my generation, especially the young men. They are aware of their own feelings and are better at separating their feelings from fact. They're also better at seeing and accommodating emotions in other people. There's more awareness of and sympathy for mental health issues. Here's an illustration. The other day, some of the students I coach were conversing, and one young man asked how frequently they had a good cry. They all answered, and he said, I think I'm overdue for a good cry, and his peers started suggesting good movies to induce tears. It was an utterly shocking scene for me. Great, but nothing I would ever have expected. Kids can be stunningly introspective and empathetic when you ask them to talk about their interpersonal issues. There's a real effort to perspective taking that goes beyond what I encountered at that age. Also, the students I work with have some selection bias, to be fair, but the ones I encounter as a whole care a lot about current events. It's like it's actually cool to know and care what's going on, and it's uncool not to. This is very different from how I grew up. I think a lot of them would agree with the statement being smart is cool and learning new things is fun, which seems simplistic, but isn't true to everyone. I think it's related to the pressure to get into college. This pressure to be more well-rounded in your interests is a double-edged sword. Kids get social capital from being exposed to different ideas and cultivating interests, but it's also a difficult race to model yourself into some ideal. There has been a large influx of Fortnite dancing and saying, oof. A realization that any sort of specialization is a good thing, and that a 4-year college isn't necessary for everyone. Lots of my students want to go to tech/trade school or apprenticeships. They're learning from my debt-laden generation. I've been a HS teacher for 14 years and I've witnessed a number of changes that give me so much hope for the future. I truly believe the kids will lead the way. We just have to give them our support. I've been preaching to adults lately that teenagers are so much more empathetic than we give them credit for. I have a severe facial pain disorder and have had numerous procedures and brain surgery, and my kids take better care of me than my co-workers. They take care of each other, too. While they aren't afraid to fail, failure isn't a badge of honor. It's cool to be a smart kid. This isn't something I saw first starting 14 years ago. My college-level kids challenge each other to be better, think deeper, and ask more important questions. They are kind. They take care of the odd kids, the quirky ones. They appreciate diversity and differences of opinion. They call out BS. Sure, there are assholes who try to make the lives of other kids hell, but the majority outweighs the bitter few every time. I love my job, and these kids make my life whole. This thread is dope. It's given me hella hope for the future. This is definitely the most wholesome thread I've read in a while. Thank you for listening to Reddit Readings episode 4.